And this print is just finishing up. This is a I've been experimenting with printing a print-in-place clock spring mechanism to wind like a wind-up toy, wind it up and let it go, and it creates rotational force. And I have ideas for various ways to apply this and augment it. Blah blah blah. Uh, so this is obviously Creality K1, and this is strange. I have like the spider web blowing off to the one corner here. Not sure what the deal is with that. Otherwise, I mean, this print looks very good. Um, there was an issue with it was sort of multiple bodies because they have a pattern in there, have a fill pattern in there, which made like I don't know, it was like 700 bodies or something. Just a tiny little sort of my own custom support material under the sort of ribbon coils. And so it was, I couldn't get them to combine because there were so many of them, so many facets probably. And so anyway, it's sort of multiple bodies on top of each other. And the slice was a little goofy around the perimeter. You can see it's a little bit ugly there around the perimeter. And that, I think, is because there were like little tiny bits sort of sticking through the wall. And I just decided to go. I could see it in the slice. There were these little sort of tiny bits of plastic that were just going to be floating on space. And so I can see them. I'm surprised there's that much of that over there, but I think that's probably what it's from, but I'm not sure. Kind of strange. But otherwise, I mean, the quality is excellent all around this, other than a few little warts here and there, but that's, I mean, it is triple F 3D printing. I think this pattern is really pretty cool. It's not intended to be cool. It is intended to allow super shallow overhangs. And I also I intend to do sort of an experiment to specifically test how extreme I can make these extreme overhangs. This one's got to be under 5 degrees from horizontal inside. So it's pretty cool. The print is almost done. It's basically just there's a shaft that goes through the middle, sort of a hub shaft, and there's a hex on top of that, so I could crank it up with like a, with like my electric impact driver or something. Not a whole lot else going on here, just that it's almost done. This filament's pretty cool. I sort of wish there were less like pinks and purples in it. I wish it was, it's cool that it's gradient, but there's just times where it's a really slow gradient, and then if you go to print something small, it just ends up being pink. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting if they would make a faster gradient, and also potentially other gradients that are less, rainbowy. But still kind of cool anyway. And I have a ton of filament to choose from. And sometimes I just get, I got to pick one. And I actually have a whole nother spare roll of this stuff. So you can see this is the, so I have a whole nother kilogram of it, of the same stuff. I mean, I counted the other day and it was like, I don't know, I had like 80, some ridiculous number of partial and full filament spools kicking around. And that's not counting all the, probably 100 that I've finished off over the years. So definitely, I was thinking about the other day, I probably spent a couple grand just on filament in the last 5 years. So, yeah, the previous versions of this actually worked quite well. Other than I tended to, actually the last one I didn't even have to break it. The first one I ended up having to break it apart, sort of an unforeseen, it was sort of binding. And so I changed the geometry some, made it taller, made the ribbons thicker to increase the spring force. And anyway, brand new print bed, my my tripod was that my tripod that fell over? Yeah, my tripod just fell over. Luckily, I'm not using it. So as I was saying, I put a raft on this one. I was having issues where they were lifting, and I used the auto brim, and they were still lifting. So this one I put a raft, especially because they're under the center shaft hub flange. There's sort of I put some sort of a little bit of spaghetti custom supports under there, and they were just coming off on the build plate, and like the base of the shaft didn't even start printing, so I just canceled the print. And so this time I put it on a raft, figuring that should be much more cooperative regarding. I should zoom out a little bit. So yeah, they actually work quite well. And this one is just modified to be stiffer, and I'm not sure, it might do less turns than the previous one. It's also smaller. This is actually 50%. It's actually designed to take up the whole build plate, but even just this 50% scale one takes, I don't know, it's like 6 hours or something. What is it? It says 5.5 hours in and 32 minutes left. So, okay, I was kind of thinking I would film live the end of this. I'm not sure if I have 30 minutes worth of things to say, and it says it's done. All right, then. 32 minutes. That was the fastest 32 minutes I ever saw. I don't even think it was 32 seconds. That's kind of funny. So, let this thing cool down a little bit and see how it works. I mean, I might as well just put the phone on a stand and give it a second to cool, just because it's live. Like, I could cancel it, and it's kind of cumbersome the way it makes me set up on my phone. It's a little cumbersome. It was like it tries to take a thumbnail, and then the camera's pointing. It's using the front camera instead of the rear camera, and so I have to back out of it, and then I lose the description, and I have to retype the description, and it's annoying because I'm using my phone, and I hate typing on my phone because it's so cumbersome. I'd much rather type on a keyboard and do it with my desktop, but since I'm filming with my phone live, it sort of restricts my freedom there. So yeah, let's watch this paint dry. I mean, this part cool. And print is complete. Don't mind the plastic particles everywhere. So this is, I mean, is that nozzle and bed temperature? It must be, huh? But the bed doesn't seem to. Okay, yeah. So the bed was at 45, and now it's down to 41. So that's why that looks horizontal there. This is a nice display on this printer, by the way. It's a touch screen, and it's not like some of the options are missing from other printers, like turning up and dialing up and down the print speed. But I think that's because of the input shaping and or clipper. I'm not an expert on clipper and or input shaping, but I believe those preclude adjusting the speed. In theory, it should be able to let you reduce the speed. And I think I actually asked GPT that, and it said, yeah, you're right. You could, in theory, decrease the speed and not have it impact the quality based on the input shaping. But now that I think about it further, that's not necessarily true. Not surprising out of our large language model stuff. They tend to hallucinate on stuff they're not sure about and answer you very confidently, even though they have no idea what they're talking about. Kind of like society these days. Anyway, so I think actually, though, it could theoretically be going faster than the natural frequency of the dynamic system. And if it slowed down and matched the natural frequency, then it could induce an oscillation. So even though I asked GPT the question, and it formed, am I correct in my theory here, in my idea? And it said, yes, you are correct. And but I'm now, a week later, I'm disagreeing with myself and ChatGPT to say that, yes, you could reduce speed and still encounter a natural frequency. And so an amplified oscillation, if that's the correct terminology. I really don't know anything. I just like to talk as if I do. I wish I could put my phone down in a place where I could see the model. Oh, I have my tripod that fell over. I'm gonna put this on the tripod here. And I'm gonna pop that off and see if it works as it is intended to work. And we are in portrait, so I need to adjust my tripod. Let's bring it down a little bit. And whoa, battery pack fell on the floor. I don't have much battery left on my phone, but hopefully enough. Actually, I can probably, ooh, fan quieted down there. He had the thunder back there? Probably not, but there's actually a tornado warning until like a minute ago. So I was out there watching the sky quite a bit. Didn't see any severe rotations, and no houses fell out of the sky, and no flying monkeys. So I don't think there was actually a tornado. Pretty rare in these parts, in the Northeast. There was, although, I remember maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was one that passed through a state park about, I don't know, maybe three or 4 miles from here as the crow flies, and it basically took out a big swath. And actually, now that I think about it, in the other direction, there was also one a similar time frame. I mean, they might have been 10 years apart. They're both a long time ago. It's very rare that we have a tornado here. But so I'm just gonna plug my battery back in so my phone doesn't die. Oops. All right, I'll get 24%. Anyway, my phone's a few years old, so that doesn't necessarily mean much. You know, sometimes your phone, you're like, oh, I got 9%, and all of a sudden it just dies, and you're like, why did you die if you had 9%? All right, moment of truth. Nice, clean, new print bed. Nice of Creality to send me that. There was a little bit of a crash, and it gouged the print bed somewhat, and could have been my fault. Honestly, I sort of game theoried how it could have been my own fault, and but they sent me a brand new build now. They're usually pretty good. Just pick some of that stuff off. I should get this on camera. Let's zoom out a little bit. Not that much. That's pretty good. So let's pop it off the old raft here. I tell you, rafts work so well. They're kind of a pain. See, I offset this bottom flange a bit. So if I put it on a flat surface, so this bottom flange is raised off the flat surface and wouldn't raise up, and you can maybe you can see that feature, these tiny little zigzags in the center here, and that's what I was talking about, that was just kept falling off the build plate. So I decided to use a raft, and it was also, the edges were also lifting off the build plate, so I decided to use a raft. This seemed to be much more successful at succeeding at that kind of thing. Successful at succeeding. That's not redundant at all. All right, and so now this whole thing rotates. Ooh, I have under extrusion here. That's concerning, and there too. And that's why that's my other issue. I'm trying to get a new extruder out of them, and I actually ordered an extruder from Matter Hackers that I thought was supposed to be here yesterday, but then it said it's going to be here Monday. So whatever. And they're doing better than Creality right now, because Creality isn't even having a hard time understanding what I'm even saying. But hey, what are you going to do? So I think if we just crank on this guy, that was super easy. This housing, that under extrusion at the bottom and the top is very concerning, but I think it would probably work fine. Why is this rocking? Oh no, the under extrusion. Yeah, see, this should also be rotating, and whatever that under extrusion is, it basically, I'm going to pop the top off of this. Jeez, that's disappointing that it under extruded like that. I know I can just pop it off because it's under extruded. That's disappointing. It's still attached to the ribbon. In theory, I can... That is annoying, because I can't... Because of this hex on here, it doesn't fit through the hole. And so maybe I can cut through this. I have these... actually, I was thinking the other day I could do a favorite tools review thing. And one of my favorite tools is, this was low on the list, but these mini bolt cutters that I got years ago. I think at like a yard sale, and it had to be a long time ago because I stopped going to those. I used to go to those like 20 years ago. But now I'm old and have too much clutter, so now I'm trying to get rid of junk, not find junk. So these have to be really really old, but they're great. I don't use them much, but boy, when I use them, they're great, and I think it's an excellent application for this. Hopefully, I can just kind of cut my way into. Ow. Hopefully, I can just cut my way to the center and get the shaft out. I have some pretty heavy duty scissors in the house that could probably do the job also. But they're all the way in the house, and it's raining, and this is here, and it's going to work, and so it'll be fine. If you don't have a pair of mini bolt cutters, highly recommend. Awesome for cutting through stuff that you're having a hard time cutting through, like a heavy-duty wire or something, like a coat hanger. This makes such easy work of a coat hanger. Even, small screws. I mean, it's called a bolt cutter, right? So anyway, so that worked, I think. Yep, that worked fine for that. And maybe I can get this back into the center. And at least, maybe this exercise one is an entire waste. Is this, oh, I had reversed it, and now it evidently reversed again. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen because the ribbon is attached to both the top and the bottom of the shaft. It's supposed to be a one-piece shaft, but this under extrusion allowed it to break, I'm assuming, at the level of the under extrusion. And so these are no longer connected. But you can see this is loose. So in theory, it could move if it was even... Aha, it fell right off. So much for that. So I'm going to have to reprint this, unfortunately. But hey, at least I have an excuse to print something. But I break all these... off these supports, so this should actually sort of return spring-wise as intended. So you can see, let me finish. So you can see all this little sort of dust in here. That's the little tiny support pieces, just like little confetti that I had under the ribbon, just to keep the ribbon off the bottom surface. So as a support, and then I could do that. What happens if I do this? I'll probably take my eye out. It spun a little bit. Unfortunately, I can also go the other way. Maybe you already saw all this stuff. Oh, wait, that's the other way. I already did similar in a previous video. So if I do this, if I unwind it this way, so you can use it either direction. Yeah, all right. So that kind of sucks. Thing broke. Kind of cool stuff though. It gives me all kind of ideas of what I can do with similar techniques. But I'm going to reprint this, and preferably without an under extrusion. And it's a little disappointing. That's the under extrusion. Oh, that's horrible. What the hell happened to that layer? I mean, look at that. It's horrible. Like, why did it just do that for like one or two layers? I don't understand how that happens. I started to do a filament swap until I realized I still had a whole lot of filament left on there. But I think this is earlier in the print than that. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm going to try it again. And we'll see. Hopefully the next one actually prints well, and then I can really test it. I don't know if you found this interesting. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. I don't know. Anything else? If you have any questions, comments, requests, feel free to put them in the comments. I've been doing 3D CAD design for 25 years and 3D printing for about 5 years. This is my 4th 3D printer. And so if you have any questions, I have a lot of experience. I could probably help you out with any questions you have regarding this type of stuff. And not limited to 3D printing, any kind of fabrication and machining and material science and whatever. Potentially answer any questions. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye. How do I get out? Aha. See ya.